So, you have probably been playing the newest game, Hyperscape, recently, and you're probably confused on and wondering, what the heck are all these hacks doing? What do I use all these hacks? Which hacks are the best, and which ones are good to utilize? Well, in this video, that is exactly what I am going to be talking about. I'm going to be telling you what these hacks are, which ones are the best to use, and my personal loadout for each one. But with that being said, let's go ahead and roll the intro, shall we? Hello everybody, FAI here, or I here, and welcome back to a bit of a new tips and tricks video. And in today's video, we'll be talking about the newest VR game that it came into open beta, which is Hyperscape. Now, in today's video, we'll not be talking about battle styles, weapons, or anything like that, but we'll be talking about hacks and what these abilities can do to help you get better at the game, and of course get better overall. Now, what are hacks? What do these do? What are they? What in the heck are they? And what can they do? How are they helpful? How are they useful for me? Well, hacks are basically your abilities. They are what will help you with getting better in the game. And when used correctly, they can also be your best item overall to, being good to being absolutely great. Now, these abilities, of course, are going to help you in one way or another. Now, they are considered called hacks. They are just abilities to help you get better in the game overall. So, what are these abilities, and what's my personal loadout that I like using because of, to get better at the game, or be at least as good as I can be at the game. Well, let's talk about these abilities. So, we have ability 1, Slam. So, what is Slam? Well, Slam, as it's described, is to jump high, then slam down. And that's exactly what it does. It makes you jump up high in the sky and then slam down for about 30 damage. Now, of course, in the end of the day, this is a great ability to help you if you're really looking for mobility or just to close the distance in on somebody who's trying to get away. In fact, that's exactly what Slam's great at, is to help get the ability to, close the distance on someone who's trying to run away from you. Now, of course, this means that it also can be used in other ways, like, for instance, doing sniper trick shots, but at the end of the day, we're not going to focus on animation canceling or anything like that. We're focusing on just the, in general, ability usage, and at the end of the day, it's to jump high and then slam down on somebody. That's what Slam does. And Slam's good for closing out distances, especially when someone is low or someone's running away because of no health or whatever. But in the end, of course, I'm not crazy about using this ability, and I find that this ability, while it's good, it's not exactly something that you should probably keep in your inventory. But moving on to the next ability that just recently came out with the open beta, which is Shockwave. Now, Shockwave is to emit Shockwave, as it's said. And, of course, with it emitting a Shockwave, it's going to push someone up and maybe back, while it's still doing some damage, which I believe is about 20, to your enemies. Now, each one of these hacks or abilities can also be upgraded, but we're not be talking about the upgrades right now. We will be just talking about the abilities themselves and how they can be used for yourself. But anyway, moving on to the next upgrade, or ability should I say, which is teleport. Now, teleport is like Slam, except all it does is teleport into a short distance ahead of somebody. So, if you're chasing someone and let's just say they're running away at low health or something, then that's where teleport comes in handy. That's where teleport comes to play. And that will allow you to basically teleport a short distance into somebody else's bubble or something. And which could be very, very useful depending on the situation and depending on what you're trying to do. If you're always trying to close the distance on someone because they're running away or something, then that's where teleport pretty much can come into play and pretty much help you. Moving on to the next ability, which is Ball. Ball basically allows you to bounce in a protective sphere, which of course is a very useful ability to utilize. It allows you to bounce around and transcend the map, or just use the map or get away in the map as far as you want to be or wherever you want to go. This could be a great mobility-based item and, of course, a great escape item if you're in a pinch. Moving on to the next ability, we got Armor. Armor is just block damage temporarily. Now, what can this do? Well, blocking damage temporarily means that you can block damage. You will gain a shell armor that will temporarily allow you to not take any damage at all. And this means that if you are a very brawler or aggressive based player, you can basically W key someone without worrying about your health or your health being damaged for say. Now moving on, we got Heal, which is the next one. And healing allows you to basically heal yourself and allies around you. This is a great little item to keep you and your opponents alive during a battle. And as long as one of your teammates have heal, well, you should be good. And you should be able to basically survive for the long run. Moving forward and moving on, we got next Reveal. Reveal is basically like a reveal hack. It's basically going to reveal your enemies. It's going to show you wherever your enemies are, as well as your enemies, if they have a reveal, will also be able to see you wherever you are. So it's a pretty simple ability. You should probably know it by knowledge to some degree, and it's something that realistically should already be within your understanding, grasp wise. But if it's not under your understanding, then obviously that's what Reveal is. The next ability is Invisibility, and Invisibility is a great getaway item as long as you're not using something like, as long as you don't have someone using, like, for instance, the mine or something, which is the next one of the abilities we will be getting into in a little bit. But it basically will turn you invisible and allow you to get away from a fight if it's at all necessary. Now, this is a great alternative to the armor hack, but of course, it's not really something that, realistically you may want to be using, because again, if someone has the mine, which is the next ability we will be talking about, it pretty much nullifies invisibility. But speaking of which, we got the mine, which is the next ability. The mine is basically a homing mine. It's a homing mine. It'll allow you to, place it somewhere, and then if someone runs into its proximity area, you will in turn be able to surprise them with a mine attack. But of course, with that being said, we move on to the last ability that's currently in the open beta, which is the wall ability. Now, each one of these abilities are currently just in the open beta. If you're watching this in the future, then abilities could have changed overall. Things could have changed. You could have seen, you probably have seen a lot of different changes. And if these changes have happened or have been enough of occurrence to suggest me to make another video on this, I will make another video on this. But with that being said, the wall ability, going back to that, it creates a protective wall that that absorbs about 250 damage points, so almost 300 damage points. And it basically not only creates a protective wall for you, but it also creates a way for you to transcend height if it's necessary. But now let's move on to my personal loadout and why I personally like using this loadout. Now, my personal loadout is armor and mine. Why do I have armor and mine as my loadout? Well, currently armor as it is, while it's not a broken ability, armor will pretty much give you damage protection. This damage protection lasts you a short bit of time, and this means that if someone is using a Hexfire or of course the Harpy, which are two rapid fire weapons, or weapons that can just spit bullets into you, you basically can absorb these bullets. But the other reason I use these two abilities is because armor can be placed or can be used in a cycle while using mine, for instance. So, for instance, if you are placed a mine somewhere, you can basically run around and have the mine lock onto your opponent, whoever they are. And, of course, once the mine locks onto your opponent, it will chase them. This first part will damage your opponent. If they don't get scared by the first damaging of your mine, and you put in some bullets on them already, then you can basically armor up, and while you're armored up, you can basically have them try to shoot you, which will give you enough time to cycle the mine back in. Once you cycle the mine back in, you start damaging them again, and of course, if they are unlucky to not be paying attention to their health, and let's face it, 9 out of 10 players currently don't pay attention to their health, it means that you will be able to surprise them with a finishing blow. And this finishing blow means that you've easily finished them off. This is why this is currently, in my opinion, the meta to of course Hyperscape. And because this is currently, at least in my opinion, the meta to Hyperscape, it means that you can do so many other things, so many little changes, so many little things to realistically make the game overall better. This can make the game much easier for you in general, and it can make it perfect for what you're trying to do. Now, of course, again, this may mean that you will not always, this may not be your particular style. You may not like this particular style. But again, as it is of the open beta and currently in the open beta, the mine is currently broken, in my opinion, and it is one of the most broken abilities currently in the game. Because it is one of the most broken abilities currently in the game, it means that you will be able to utilize whatever you can on it. It means that you can basically, make this ability your own. You can basically make, what you're doing your own style. You can do whatever you need to do to really make yourself better at the game, or at least somewhat better or somewhat carryable for, for Hyperscape. But again, these are my personal loadouts. Now, how does this loadout really fare against most fights? Well, it's perfect in my opinion. In my opinion, armor grenade or armor mine is perfect. It's a great ability to realistically have the best of both worlds. Not only will you be able to technically take on multiple enemies, but you will be able to be surprised that most enemies don't expect. Most players will not expect you to be a surprise. Most players will only expect you to be, to be basically that one player that, that everyone is not expecting to succeed. Because, again, you have so many players that are using Slam, you have so many players that are using Shockwave, you have so many players that are using, all these other things that, this Shockwave thing doesn't really work very well in in compared to most other players. Now, people think Shockwave is pretty good because not only does it push you up and do some damage if someone gets caught in it, but it also does a Shockwave push, which can get someone away from you. But I feel that Shockwave is a very defensive ability, and while Slam is another one of the abilities that most people will use currently, while Slam does have some room for improvement, some room to realistically make you a pretty decent player, I feel that it's a final ability. It's something that you will use only to close the distance and to give someone a bit of a shock from escaping, So, again, it just doesn't feel like it's really something that everyone would be using. And then, of course, you've got something like invisibility, which I feel is a very defensive ability. I feel that invisibility is more or less a very, very defensive move. It's something that the only people who will usually utilize invisibility is someone who just wants to stay passive if they can help it. But obviously, you can't always stay passive if you want to win for say. You've got to be able to at least somewhat pick your fights and be able to use your fights whenever it's necessary. Then, of course, you've got Wall, which, again, is a very defensive ability. I feel that Wall is great for, making sure that mines don't hit you. But I feel that because it is such a defensive ability and such a tactical ability, the only real way to really make it worthwhile using is if you can learn to cut people off, like teammates off, enemies off, from being double team heavy. It's the only way to really make it to where you can realistically make yourself a harder target to take down. Now, again, the same thing goes with Reveal. Now, Reveal, I think, is great for snipers. It's great for snipers to have Reveal. And the reason I think Reveal is great for snipers is because it will allow them to basically reveal your enemies and, do whatever they can to, of course, make it easier to, be surprised by your sniper shots if you're, that kind of player. If you're like the sharpshooter of the game. But, of course, like you said, I feel that Reveal is just underutilized, and overall, it's probably just not used in its best, ability for say. Its best choice. But, of course, then you've got Teleport, which, Teleport, why do I not use it? Why do I think it's not really worth utilizing? Well, Teleport is basically a blink move. It's to teleport a short distance ahead. And I feel that it's great for closing out distance. It's great for, moving short distances around somebody and, being able to utilize some type of mobility. But again, I just don't feel that it's a very useful hack or ability to use. But of course, I just don't feel that it's very useful unless you're really trying to realistically transcend the map far, far away and, have a quick getaway escape. That's pretty much where Ball comes into play, as it will turn you into a ball and give you a mobility escape pod that gives you some slight armor. And while healing can be useful, especially in squad crowns or crown squad mode, it is basically a sustainability item that, may or may not help you depending on the situation. But with that having been said, those are all the abilities. Now, like I said, we'll go into detail on a future video talking about each one of these abilities in their own separate terms, how they're useful and what they are used and how they are used. But that's a video for another time. That's a video for another day. Same thing with talking about all the weapons and their abilities, how they're used, how they're good, how they're great. But hopefully, with that being said, this video has helped you become better at Neo Arcania and, of course, Hyperscape. And I hope that this ability has helped you with learning more about the hacks and the abilities and which ones I prefer to use. In my opinion, like I said, Armor and Mine are the two best abilities currently in the game, in my opinion, because, they are the best for aggressive play. And they are just broken at the moment. You can mix it with any other ability. Mine, of course, can be utilized with any other ability. But in my opinion, I don't see anyone not wanting to use mine. Because, after all, currently, it's just kind of a broken ability. I know you may see players like Cypher PK using the slam a lot and armor. I know you may see some other top tier players using like armor and and shockwave or something like that, but in my opinion, I just can't see anyone not wanting to use mine when after this video has come out, because obviously at this point right now mine is very, very hard to counter. There's not many counters for mine, and there aren't many ways to get away from the mine. So, with that being said, thank you everybody for joining me today on this video. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, get subscribed, hit the bell notification, because I know you want to know when my next video drops next. Thank you everybody for joining me today on this video. Somewhere in the video, I probably plugged in a count of my subscribers on YouTube, as well as a subscribe and like button for you to subscribe and like to this video. But I also probably plugged in somewhere on this video my Twitch channel, which currently shows how many followers are on my Twitch channel. I hope you follow me on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/FA_EYA or I. But until the next video, everybody, thank you for joining me today on this video. Thank you for watching this video, and until the next video, everybody. Farewell, everyone.